This is The Naked Life with Roxanne Noor. Today I am here with Sofiane. Sofiane developed MS at age 22, and this triggered him into a whole new life path where he began to really take his health seriously, and he ended up curing himself of MS. He has been learning about anti-inflammatory diet for the last 5 years. He graduated from the integrative nutrition school. He has helped thousands of people with their diets and finding specific foods that fit their bodies. His knowledge of the body is to help to preserve health and guard against disease. He loves the words of Hippocrates, let food be your first medicine, as in the food that you put is the information for your body, for your cells, and that we have a choice. And in these choices comes a type of freedom. So today we're going to talk about the psychosomatics of healing, how to consciously choose what foods, what thoughts feel best, and how to really acknowledge also the emotional body that creates the conditions of the physical body, and to not really allow the emotions to stagnate or metastasize to create illness, but to be an acknowledgement of our inner spheres. So I hope this conversation is as enlightening for you as it was for me. A lot of the principles are quite simple, and then in practice they're a bit more difficult because it requires a type of consistency to remain conscious to our healths and not just become reactive, but to take the steps so that it's not about curing ourselves, but just maintaining health itself. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for coming to my friend's place today. We are in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Barcelona. I'm trying to be authentic with the lisp. So today I really want our conversation to be about your life story because it's very interesting and I know only fragments of it. And so I would like to know the full thing in relation to you having the capacity to heal yourself and then starting a whole business and then potential books around it. It feels like so many of the most catastrophic things that happen to us, the things that bring us the most pain, are actually a propeller into a new way of life and living. And I think that was a lot of your story. So I think it would be great to start off on what exactly happened to you. What illness did you have? And how did it bring you to what you've learned about the body and where you are now?
Wow, it's a very long journey. So it started in 2015. It was in August 2015. And I remember one day I woke up with a weak arm and a weak leg. It was the left side of the body. So I remember going down the stairs of my house. I was in France back then. And as I was going down the stairs, I was like, something's wrong. It's like I could feel my mobility was not 100%. I was like, what's wrong? I don't get it. The truth is, for weeks, I was not telling anyone. I could literally feel like, I don't know how to explain, but it's like your body doesn't answer to you. It's like you wanna grab a pen, but it doesn't work. I remember I was trying to close my shirt. I couldn't close my shirt with my left hand. So it was I was 22 back then, so you can understand. I was 22. And when that happened, I had never heard about anything like this. Like sometimes you heard about, I don't know, headache or a pain in the stomach or whatever, but someone literally losing part of his body, I had never heard about that. The truth is, I was also scared of the diagnosis, so I was pushing away till the point that I had to go to the hospital at some point. So after maybe 3 weeks, it was September 2015, I went to the hospital. And after 1 week of many analyses, scan and blood and everything, like all sort of things. After 1 week, I remember the doctor coming to my room and telling me like, well, Mr. Kayat, so you are diagnosed from multiple sclerosis. Have you heard about it? I was like, no, I've never heard about it. I remember at this time, I just wanted to hide. I wanted to run. And whatever she would say, I didn't want it to hear. Because the way she came to me was, I could see on her look that it wasn't fun. That it was something pretty serious. And she explained me that it's an autoimmune disease. So basically, your immune system is attacking itself, and it affects the nervous system. So yeah, she gave me this diagnosis, and that was the beginning of my new life in a way. What happened right after this diagnosis is I went to strong denial because I didn't want to accept that. I didn't want to accept that I would take pills for life, that I would have a sickness for life, because the first thing she said is like, there is no cure for that. We can give you pills that can avoid any flare-up, so episode. That works with episode actually, but we cannot heal you. You cannot heal basically. Of course, she didn't ask anything about my situation, my stress level, my lifestyle, my diet, my emotions, whatever. She didn't ask. It looked like it was just bad luck. Actually, just bad luck. So after that, for years, I was in what I called denial, which means living like nothing happened. But even worse than that, I was living like the one life kind of life. I was like, one day I will go through shit because I'm diagnosed from a serious sickness, and one day it will turn really bad. So I was like, okay, let's make the most of it. So I arrived to Barcelona, where we are now, in 2016, and I was like, let's go all in. Let's take drugs. Let's take alcohol. Didn't care about diet. Didn't care about lifestyle. I was partying 2 times a week, 3 times a week. And that was my way to just refuse this diagnosis. Close the eyes, acting like a blind person. It wasn't getting better because I had different flares up, different episodes. That wasn't as strong as the first one, but still, I remember when I was working in Barcelona, I had lost sensitivity of my forehead. And I think it was in 2019, it's not I think it's I'm sure, in 2018, for the first time, I was starting to read about it in internet, because before then I was not able to write multiple sclerosis on internet. I was just scared. Because all you see when you do that, you just see bad things. When you put like any sort of sickness, it could be cancer or multiple sclerosis, everything you see is like your life is over, basically. There is no much hope. And I was very scared of that. But at some point I was like, let's do something. I'm still young. I'm sure I could do something. And then I started to read about diet, lifestyle, people that were getting better with that. There is actually a doctor in the US, Terry Walls is her name, and she went from wheelchair to be able to ride a bike a bicycle.
Yeah, from a wheelchair to a bicycle.
From a wheelchair to a bicycle. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, wow. So maybe I could do something. It gave me so much hope. And from this time, she was following, back in the day, the paleo diet that was really famous back then. Now it's a bit less famous, but there is really interesting things in it. And from that point, I started my own journey of exploring food, just exploring food and nutrition and how I could improve, which makes sense because autoimmune disease is like there is something wrong within your body, and food is the first one information you can send to your body. Is the first one. Then of course there is quality of thoughts and relationship and many things. But I wanted something factual. It's like, okay, getting better psychologically is very nice, but how do you measure it? It's not so easy. Food, you know that broccoli is healthy and wild salmon is great. You buy it, and then you're able to send this information to your body. So for me, it was the first pillar of health, and the more accessible was getting healthy food, right? So I started that in 2018, and from 2018 to 2020, I was in exploration, experimenting different things, different diets, learning how to cook, because I come from a place that I didn't know how to cook. I was raised by my mother and my grandmother in a Muslim family. So in a way, you are the guy, you are the prince, So I wasn't doing much in the kitchen, let's say. So I had to learn all that. So I dedicated those 2 years just to learning and to approach food and to cook and to know like which food is great. But the big turning point was in 2020, because in 2020 COVID happened, the lockdown happened, and I wanted to take this time that I had now, because I was working in a 9 to 5 in the tech industry. They sent us home, so I was from home. I had way more time, and I was like, okay, I want to use this time for my health. My health from now on is the big, huge priority number one. In a world that we just live, that we put health like it's all good, It's like we take it for credit, right?
You take it for granted, yeah.
For granted, yeah. We take it totally for granted, and it's not. It's not. The day that a little thing happened, you're like, oh, what the hell did I do? I forgot my health. Wow. So I decided to put it at the very first one priority. And what is important, I got out also of the mindset that I can do everything alone, because it's very my mindset. For me, it's like, I know I don't need anyone. I can do things on my own. Well, that's good, but sometimes the truth is you need help and support. So I asked to find like one of the best doctor of the town, that has of course a holistic approach, because conventional cannot help. I went to see a neurologist because for my sickness, for this diagnosis, I don't say my sickness, by the way, and the explanation is because this is not my sickness, it's a diagnosis. And when you say my sickness, it's like this sickness belongs to you, like you keep it with you. So it's just a little point. So I went to see this girl because conventional don't help. They cannot help. And the neurologist, when I was going to see them, they would just give me another pill to take. They're like, you feel that? Okay, maybe another pill. Or, there is no answer there. I realize there is no answer, and it's scary because it's all you have. And I was worried, of course, and I wanted help. But they literally tell you, you have your pill, we cannot do anything else. We can do one scan every 6 months and let's see how it goes. It's like, there is no hope in the conventional. There is no hope. So I decided to go in a different way and to find someone that could help me and support me. So I found this amazing woman in Barcelona in 2020. Her name is Gladys, and she's like a conventional doctor in a way, but she has a very holistic approach. She uses energy, chiropractic, food. She's very holistic. Like she's a witch, but a nice one. And I found her, and I could say she really changed my life. Because the first one that I went to see her in 2020, I arrived to her office, and she told me literally a list of things I have to stop eating and things that I can keep eating if I really want to get better. To make it short, I will tell you what I could keep eating. So I could keep eating meat, very good quality of meat, very good quality of fish, greens, a lot of greens like veggies, and that was basically it. And she told me you have to quit alcohol, you have to quit sugar, you have to quit grains, you have to quit legumes, at least for a good while. And it was the beginning of the summer in Barcelona. I remember I was about to go to 2 birthdays in villas of my friends, and I had to take this decision of quitting everything. So of course it's for my health. So I decided to quit everything she said. I quit gluten, I quit processed food, I quit sugar, I quit soda, I quit grains, I quit pasta. Literally, I quit everything. I started to see real shift though, real difference in my energy, in my mood, in my inflammation, in my cognitive function, in my body even, like a lot of clarity. I was really seeing a lot of change. From those change, I was like, maybe I have something to share now, because as I was doing this change, I was starting to embody something, like about nutrition. I was not just learning anymore. I was embodying this change. I was embodying something. So I was like, maybe I should start sharing my experience and my knowledge on the social media. So I remember this day I was in my flat in Barcelona. I was just there before today, coming here to see my ex-roomies. And we had this beautiful terrace. It's at the 12th floor and beautiful view. And I was taking a break from my job. And I remember this time I went to the terrace. I started to look at the sea, and I was in a very introspective moment. And I was like, because this is how I call myself. So, like, what do you want to do with your life? What do you really like? I was like, yeah, I love cooking. I love nutrition. I love fitness. I love health. I love sharing with people. I love social media for many reasons. And I was like, what if I just go out there and what if I just start to share my journey, my knowledge, and whatever I learn? And this whole story with the autoimmune disease, because autoimmune disease is like 10% of the population is diagnosed from autoimmune disease. You have plenty of them. To give you an idea, like diabetes type 2 is one of them. But then you have diabetes type 1, you have Crohn's disease, gut issues, psoriasis. There is a whole bunch of autoimmune disease. And it's becoming more and more common. So I was like, what if I start sharing? The day after, I had already like rebranded my whole Instagram, and I started to share.
From your research and from your sharings, and also you have clients that you help, yes?
Yeah.
What have you seen? And I know you also help people with anti-inflammatory issues.
Yeah.
What would you say for any type of person who wants more mental clarity, sharpness, acuteness of the mind? What type of diet do you think really supports that? I feel like there's a lot of misinformation online, and there's a lot of propaganda in health in general to sell things. But based on your experience in healing yourself, your research, your clients that you help, if you could give anyone like a really basic diet to follow, what would it consist of?
I like to think of those things that. So first, I don't recommend one specific diet. I'm really not. I'm not vegan. I'm not paleo. I'm not keto. I'm not any of those things, right? What I've done so far for myself is, of course, learning, exploring, and then adapting. And it's true that people come on the social media and everywhere saying that they found the truth. And there is really not such thing as the truth. There is a truth in many things. There is truth in vegan diet. There is truth in keto diet. There is truth in low carb diet. There is truth in carnivore diet even. There is truth literally everywhere. But then it's always like to try on your body and to listen to your body, like having awareness, paying attention. And instead of thinking what we should add, is very also important to understand what we should remove. And in modern society, there is a lot of things to remove. Because we have been pushed, we're from the same generation, the 90s. We have been pushed a lot of shit. I'm sorry, but it's the word. A lot of crap. First one that is so obvious is removing the processed food. Has nothing good for you. It's just a mix of gluten, sugar, salt, chemical things that are super harmful, super inflammatory, super addictive. It's just a trap. And many lobby and the sugar lobby acted big time for us young people to be addicted, so we would keep consuming as we grow. We also fighting as like every person is fighting against huge industry every day. So I would say, first removing all the processed stuff, soda, chips, all sort of.
Are there any processed foods you can think of that try to mask themselves as something else? So for example, soda, chips, donuts, this is all super obvious. But are there any foods you've seen that are actually quite shit but have been branded as something that's not?
Honestly, almost everything that has a package and marketing and colors in it and advertisement, they're always hiding something. The best food, they don't have any ingredients. They are the ingredients. So me, the message that I'm sharing the most in my Instagram is like, eat real, which means quality, which means the food is the closest from the nature.
From Earth,
yeah. And quality is really, really important. Eating real. So I think if you remove all the processed food, which is very inflammatory for sure, all of them, so you have the way. You're halfway.
It's also interesting what you speak upon in terms of quality, because geographically in the world, just where you're placed will determine, in a way, what kind of food you want to eat. So for example, when I'm in America, I do not eat meat because the quality generally is so poor because the regulations are not stringent, versus being in Western Europe where there's way more demand for high quality. So I feel like geographically where we're placed, our diet will obviously change, versus another thing I want to point out for pretty much everything is the importance of local versus global. And this is what I've seen in terms of buying the best fruits and veggies, and also for lowering carbon footprint, which is super important.
Of course.
Is the fruits I eat really depend on where I am. Like if I'm in Thailand, I'm not going to eat berries that come from Argentina.
Of course.
So I think that's another thing, is like watching where the food is coming from and trying to keep it as close as possible to your location.
Of course.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's something, especially in America, and what you were saying about processed foods, like the longer the label, the more the more things on it, you know it's a bad sign.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like when you read a label and you see like 26 ingredients, think that your body will have to treat those 26 ingredients, and sometimes they don't come from nature. So for your body, it's a real mess. That's why nowadays our body are lost. They don't understand. We give them sugar, a lot of salt, things that we cannot even pronounce, you know? And all that you don't notice, but you give it to your body and you tell your body, okay, do the job now. And it's empty of life. You know, how I love to see health is like to be optimal. You have to assimilate as much as you can of nutrients, vitamins, antioxidants, and to assimilate the least toxin possible, you know. Then you have a good balance. Then you like in what we call homeostasis, you know. It gets what the problem with inflammation is not inflammation itself. Inflammation is normal. Right now, if I do that very hard, you might get red, although you tan, but you might get red.
Yes.
So it's normal because your body is
responding. Yeah.
Is responding to calm the inflammation. The problem is the repetition of the inflammation that creates real issues, like a cancer, like let's say lung cancer, for example. It's just someone that smoked every day for 20 years. And at some point, the body can't anymore handle this inflammation because your body, to be optimal, has to be in homeostasis. Homeostasis, yeah. Mm-hmm. Homeostasis has to be in this state as much as possible. It's in this state that you actually heal, in a way.
For people, I would say one of my greatest addictions, the hardest thing for me to let go of, that I know is actually one of the most deadly, is the sugar.
Yeah.
Is sugar in general, because it's so addictive and because from a young age I was eating it. And I think from a psychological point of view, I've noticed this in myself. I'll go through periods of brahmacharya or celibacy, and the not having sex will make me go very deep into eating sugar. There's like a balancing act in terms of pleasures.
Yeah.
And I feel like for a lot of people in my family also, they suffer from the sugar addiction.
Yeah, yeah.
How would you say, what is the best way that you help your clients work with these addictions rather than just renouncing and pushing away? And then I find this in myself, like for a solid week, I'll be like, okay, good. But then I start to get really frustrated and I'll break it with like 5 chocolate bars instead of 1. What is the best way to deal with addictions in food?
Well, addiction is a complicated topic because we all have our reason. You know, food is very emotional. So as you said, you could eat more sugar because of something. And for me, sugar could be, I could have another reason. So first is working on the awareness of what is the trigger. You know, what is the trigger? Why do you crave sugar? Because food is very emotional. You want to eat because something is missing, you know?
Yeah, I think everything in life kind of comes back to feeling. We want to feel something and also filling a void.
Yeah.
And it's very physical and metaphysical.
Yeah.
This wanting to consume in order to feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's a lot of emotional overeating that I've seen. And then a lot of the opposite too, which is like starving yourself when you get really depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying in terms of awareness is, today I noticed it in myself because today was a not great day. and I had this feeling of zero mental spaciousness, which is obviously a lie because there's always a small sliver of space.
Yeah.
But it was that being in the coffee shop, getting a matcha, which is just green tea, it's not unhealthy, it's okay. But then seeing the cakes and the donuts and all these things, and then having this impulse.
Yeah.
And I've felt it before when I feel this wanting gratification immediately.
Yeah.
And usually all it takes is just stepping back and seeing it to stop, because I notice the futility of my own actions. But in that, because it was so direct and impulsive, it just happened within 1 minute. It was like already done. And so
But it's important to not feel guilty when you do so as well.
that's another
No.
point I was going to bring up is there's been studies done with guilt and with stress,
Yeah.
and both actually harm the body more than
Yeah.
anything. The way we process our foods because of our minds.
Yeah. It's important. Like, you've done it. Move on.
Yeah.
Move on. It's important to not feel guilty for doing so. Then, yeah, sugar is a big thing. It's a big thing. I think we all have been through some sort of addiction to sugar. I was addicted to Coca-Cola, for a very long time. I was eating a lot of sweets as well when I was younger.
Do you do so one thing that I've done that did help me for periods of time was, so instead of just in English we have this term that's like quitting cold turkey.
Yeah, I know.
yeah, which is like just get rid of it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it actually has worked for me, but other times, especially with long-term addictions, it's nice to supplement something else.
Yeah.
And so when I feel that, a lot of the time I'll just go towards natural sugars instead, like eating a peach
Yeah, yeah.
instead.
Yeah. Actually, all habits, if we take the science of habits itself, they all work the exact same. Cue, trigger, reward. They all work the exact same way. It's the same for sugar, it's the same for cigarettes, it's the same for alcohol, it's the same for sex. It's the same for everything. It's the same structure, the same pattern. So for every single habit, I will always recommend to change it. Yeah. To replace it. And of course, fruits are the most beautiful way to get a sugar intake. It's the best way. All kind of fruits, they're amazing, they're sweet, they give you also this, you have this reward
Energy.
effect,
Yeah.
you have the energy, but they way better because you have vitamin, they have antioxidant, they're not addictive. Could you notice, like, have you ever eaten two apples in a row or 2 bananas in a row? Maybe once or twice in your life. Why? Because you're actually chewing, you're actually getting real nutrients. It's not dead. Have you ever eaten 1 chips in your life?
No.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's so impossible.
Because
Yeah.
it's studied to be impossible. It's studied. There is a point that laboratory try to reach. That is the they call it the blessing point, something like that. And it's the perfect point that makes a food product, addictive. Like a chips. The whole experience of a chips is studied to be like that. You eat one and then you just want to grab the second one. This is how tricky is this industry. It's really tricky.
Based on your research, what do you feel are, to you, maybe really common things that are misconstrued or that you've seen falsified? So I know that there's actually a lot of myths around health. What do you feel like is one myth that's completely not true, but everyone is partaking in? You see this and you're like, wow, this is insane. This shouldn't be a thing, but everyone sees it as a collective truth in some way.
Yeah, I would say the big fat lie is actually about the fats. Yeah, there is plenty of those, right? But a big one is about fat. Fat is bad for you.
Which is not true, actually.
Which is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not true. And the story is actually, it comes from the US in the 60s. And they came up with one guy just came up with study saying that saturated fat is the main cause of heart disease.
And cholesterol levels, yeah.
Yeah. And one thing pushed it further is when a president of the United States had a heart attack. And then they needed to blame something. They needed to find the guilty one, right? So at this time, and probably also pushed by many industries to not blame sugar, for example, they came out with the big statement that still today is many people believe in it, but is not proven at all, that saturated fat is bad for you. But what was happening in the 50s and the 40s? What was happening?
Diabetes was escalating when this happened. That was
Something really, it's one thing, but the other thing is people were smoking like crazy, and cigarette was marketed like something very nice and healthy. So the president himself was smoking like crazy, but when he had a heart attack, we say, wow, fat is bad, fat is dangerous. Well, no, you are smoking too much cigarette maybe. So this myth is still there. Like, for example, I put a bunch of olive oil in my food, a bunch of butter. I eat like pretty much a lot of fat. Like, and people sometimes look at me and they're like, wow, you're putting a lot of fat. You know, it's still surprising. But it's actually very good, the fat. It's very good. And we blame the healthy fat, but still, we don't blame so much sugar. We don't blame so much the refined carbs that we have in flour, in pasta, in all the pastries, and so many processed food, probably main of the processed food. So yeah, I would say the big fat lie is about the healthy fat.
Mm-hmm. Also, I feel like you talked about cutting a lot out of your diet in order to keep something. So I think a lot of dieting, I see it as kind of stupid, because I think the main thing that we all want in health is consistency and stability in that. So taking very extreme diets and trying to make yourself healthy when in reality it will only last 2 to 3 weeks is kind of dumb. What do you feel is best for long-term changes in diet that is easy to kind of keep?
So I would say it has to be simple. You have to like it, and it has to be nutritional dense. So food will always be a pleasure. We always enjoyed food since we were tribes. That was food. That's why food is very sacred, you know, and it's a big part of our pleasure of life. It will always be. If food is boring, if you don't enjoy what you're eating, there is no way it's sustainable. There is just no way. No way. You have to enjoy it. It's pleasure. It is pleasure. So you have to like it. Then it has to be easy, because if you cook a Buddha bowl with 15 ingredients every day, doing all the work, spending 45 minutes, you will be tired at some point. And that's why sometimes I see things on Instagram with, wow, Buddha bowl, wow, amazing. You see 15 color in a bowl. You're like, oh, I want to do that. Yeah, but well, doing that is a real pain in the ass. For me, simplicity is key in life. I do 3 eggs, arugula, maybe some nuts, maybe half of an avocado, and I have a lunch. My plate, they never have more than 3 ingredients. Look, today I invited a friend to eat. Actually, we had local lamb, zucchinis, and rucola. Ciao. That's it. Simple. Dessert, fruit. I brought a watermelon.
Of course you did.
Of course. For me, simplicity is key. It's really key. It's just that right now we have the feeling that cooking is hard, cooking is long, being healthy is complicated. Just because, of course, it will always be easier to buy a frozen pizza and to put it at the oven. Of course. But well, you can also take 15 minutes, 20 minutes for your health, and you will have a return on investment on life. Because we think when we do so, when we eat those pizza, when we drink those soda, and I'm not saying that you should never do it. You can do it, of course. You can have Coke, you can have pizza once in a while, why not? You can do it. But we have the feeling that we do it and we're not paying anything for it. Well, you accumulating a debt. A debt. That's what's happening. But it's very subtle. It's happening, you don't notice. Because your body is so smart that your body just wants to protect you. But I see my body as a teamwork. We are a duo and we support each other. We are a team. My role is to make him optimal. So I give him the right food. I give to my body simple work. Food easy to digest, food from the nature, not only dead food that is hard to digest and that creates inflammation. And I think we live also we live very disconnected from our body. And I was like that for 24 years of my life.
And even in the way you just spoke about your body, it was interesting because you spoke in third person.
Yeah.
So him as not me. How do you feel? Do you not identify as your body is you?
I do, but I really see my body like my teammate.
So it's not you. It's something separate.
Yeah, I kind of see it like it's separate. Yeah. Even though I know it's my body, but I talk to my body, I touch my body, I check with him like, how do you feel today? I have like daily checkup with my body, and I feel like I have a relationship with my body. Although I know it's my vessel and I own it, for me it's maybe just something I have done unconsciously, but it's serving me. It's like I see my body like my teammate, like we are in this together. I will take care of you. Thank you for everything. Like, it's because of you that I can look at beautiful people. It's because of you that I can hug. It's because of you that I can feel, that I can see, that I can touch, that I can walk by the sea, that I can do so many things. Let me thank you. It's like we really have like this beautiful vessel that is our body that is allowing us to live this unbelievable experience that is called life. And of course, being grateful is great, but it's not only being grateful, it's also helping this body to navigate in life. So,
in a lot of somatic approaches, there's been kind of this theory that's the opposite of the way you're using your language with your body. And so, for example, there's this theory that basically states that a lot of the way we relate to our body is as it is separate, and that's actually what's causing us harm sometimes. And this cognitive dissonance between us and the body. And there's this one theory that says basically when you're tuning in and you're in pain, instead of saying my shoulder is aching, so my shoulder is aching, the shoulder is something that's there, it would be I am tensing my shoulder. Like you are the body. It's not like, oh, my shoulder just has a mind of its own and it's tensing. It's like, no, I am tensing my shoulder, which means I can relax it. And it's this form in somatics to put us in this state of realizing, because I feel like a lot of spiritual practices, especially I really love Theravada Buddhism and all of this stuff, is like, you are not your body, you are not your body, you are not your body, you are not your body. And so much of somatics is like, no, actually I am this body too. I'm a lot more, but I am also this body that I came here with. And so to form, it's interesting the way we all want to form a relationship. So what you're saying works for you, like it's your teammate. I think what works for me is the actually somewhat identifying with the fact that, yes, I am this body, and also a recognition of the times when I have felt most embodied in my life, really eating healthy food for me, being a vegetarian was when I was at my most optimal.
Okay.
So being vegetarian, living by the ocean, swimming 2 hours a day, how all of these things brought me the most joy I ever felt in my life because I was in my body. Like I was living in my body. It wasn't only about the ever thinking mind. It was like, no, I'm feeling, I'm here, I'm dancing.
Yeah.
And in that state, and I've felt it living in primarily in Thailand and also in Colombia. I've noticed when I'm really happy, I don't need to eat so much.
Yeah.
I'm eating like 1 meal a day and I'm super good.
Yeah.
And so, I think what you said before is also the importance of experimentation, what you were saying. Like, no, don't just read the articles, but see like what actually makes you feel good and tune in and listen.
Yeah.
For you, what advice can you give people about conscious eating or the process of tuning in? Because most of society is not embodied. And you look at the way people are able to eat so many copious amounts of unhealthy food, and it's because they don't feel like they can eat the whole chocolate cake and feel nothing and keep going. So for you, what is intuitive eating? Like, how do you find that consciousness between your mind and the body?
It's a good question. I would say really first is start to stop seeing the food just as calories or food, understanding that is information for every single of your cells is what keeps you going throughout the day. It will be communication for all your organs, your cells, your brain, your heart, your mood, your weight, your energy. It is like, it's so many things. So many things. I don't know, for me, just understanding that was like, wow. Wait, we wouldn't put Coke in a plant, right? We would just put water. We wouldn't give Coke to our babies. We would just give water. So why would I would give myself so much Coke? I know I run on water. I'm 70% of water. You know, it's like understanding that food is so much information. You know, I would say that's that's the big thing for me. I could give a lot of advice about this intuitive eating, but connecting with the real food, it's really important. I just wanna come back on the somatic thing you've said, because I think it's really important. I also, my whole journey of this psychosomatic discovery is also started with the sickness. And again, at the beginning, for easy 3 years, I was full on nutrition, full on. And again, it's an important pillar. It's very easy to access because, well, you buy the food, you cook, you eat it. So it's very easy. And I would recommend everyone to start that way with the food. But then food is not everything. Food is not everything. And as you said, we weigh more than a body. And we are also, we have so many dimensions. And there is our trauma, there is our emotions, there is our struggle, insecurities, doubt, many things. And stress can make us sick, right? Right?
Extremely. I would say that's probably, when I think of the most deadly diseases, and there's been so many studies on this, it really is stress. And it's really, to me, so easy to understand why men usually die before women is the amount of stress society puts on men to produce and to not have any emotions about it. Also, to have no outlet. It's so obvious why men die first. It's stress. Stress is total killer.
And I love to say, so if our thoughts can make us sick, they can also heal us.
Yes.
Right?
And I think Dr. Joe Dispenza has done so many studies on this and
Yeah.
the placebo effect and the
Yeah.
way in which we can change our whole composition just with
Yeah.
our thoughts. The repetition of the thoughts really
Yeah.
matter. But then also, I think the hardest part for many people is actually believing it.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole other area.
Yeah. I mean, to believe it, you have to embody and to
Live
and
it.
to live it. And for me, that was a very interesting journey. So, to come back to the point I was saying is like, for 3 years I've been full on nutrition, full on crazy. I love extremes. I love to go until the extreme. I need to learn everything. I think I mastered that part, at least for my body. I'm not saying that I have the answer and the truth for anyone else, but for my body, I found what I needed. But I could still feel that I wasn't healed yet. Am I though? Like I could feel I was missing something. You know, it's like, okay, great, my food is great. I'm eating super healthy. I feel super good in my body, but I could still feel something missing. That's when I started to travel. July, exactly 1 year ago, 13th of July last year, I was leaving Barcelona to go to Bali. And my intention for my travel was like, I want to go inside and I want to discover this all psychosomatic because I know I'm carrying a huge luggage with me that are made of traumas, insecurities, childhood experiences. And I knew my sickness was not the diagnosis of the sickness. I knew it wasn't just bad luck. I knew it had a reason. I knew it had reasons even. So my intention was to understand them. So I arrived to Bali, and Bali was very healing for me. I know we know a lot about, we heard a lot about Bali, but it's really a place that, like the energy of this place, really, you can go really deep. I believe Bali has a lot of depth, and you can go really deep into your trauma, childhood, and many things. And there is amazing people that can help you I see life like a puzzle. And when you got diagnosed from an autoimmune disease, it's like, oh, I have a whole puzzle to understand, because it's really like that. It's a real puzzle. So in Bali, went to I went to see different people, and I lived also my own experience, and I was able to travel in my past. Thing that is really complicated when I'm in Europe, because in Europe I'm just like doing my things, and there is no much room for introspection. And when you go far away, you have this possibility to zoom out. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So I started to understand so many things about this diagnosis that has nothing to do with lifestyle or food habits. It was way deeper than that. And I remember I met this therapist in Bali, and she explained me, do you know the meaning of autoimmune disease? I was like, well, not really. Honestly, I studied a lot of nutrition, but that part I don't know. So an autoimmune disease is your immune system attacking itself, attacking you basically. So meaning it's you attacking you. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? And then she started to ask me, were you hard with yourself as a kid? Like, were you like some sort of self-hate, self-sabotage? Yes, that's my whole childhood and even more. To give you a bit of story, like I grew up, I didn't know my dad. My mom was working all day from 8 to 9, from Monday to Saturday. So no one was there to build my self-esteem. No one helped me. And when you don't have this, the dad that is supposed to be this figure that is who is protecting you, right, and building your self-esteem and make you feel just safe and protected. Well, I wasn't. And even more interesting than that, and that I discovered actually 1 month ago. um, like I discovered how deep it impacted me. But when my mom was pregnant, because she was Muslim and she was pregnant from a Jewish guy, so the two cannot be together. And if she would have told my family that she's pregnant from a Jewish, she would have been kicked out from the family. So she hid me for 9 months. So basically, I was in the belly of my mom, already scared of life. So I grew up as a kid that is scared of everything, very scared, and very weak. So yeah, a lot of self-hate, a lot of self-sabotage, a lot of like totally not self-confident back in the time. I was scared to talk in public. I was the really shy guy that was staying not in the spotlight, following the leaders, sometimes the very bad one, people pleasing everyone. I was I was going through toxic relationship with friends and girlfriend because it was better than that than being alone, because I didn't know what I worth. So yeah, when she said that, I could see like I could really, really, really relate. I was just attacking myself for years energetically, because all those bad words that I could have against me, it's energy, right? Emotions are energy. Um, and yeah, I believe that at some point my body just implode. And also a very interesting point that was mentioned by Gabor Mate. He explained how men suppress emotions, which is true. So I grew up as a man, plus in a Muslim family. So there was no room for you to express emotion. You had to suppress. You have to. Everything should be fine. You know, like if you feel bad, you just don't show it. And if someone asks you, like, yeah, I'm good, always, always, everything should be okay. Like you have a roof, you have food, you should be okay. Well, of course, we can be grateful for that, but life is life, and of course, many people feel anger, feel sad, feel shame, feel guilt, and all that could be healthy if you can talk about it, right? I think every emotion is really valid, but when we start to suppress, again, it doesn't leave your energetic field, because in there, it's in there. So I connected both of what the therapist said and this whole speech that Gabor Mate gave, and I was like, I could link the dots, and also like many over healings that I could have done. I could little by little connect the dots and understanding that actually this diagnosis wasn't such wasn't about nutrition, or wasn't that I was eating bad, or wasn't bad luck. It was just what I was doing to my body energetically with all those emotions. And I think that's my biggest discovery of this last year.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because I feel like this is most of health, actually. And because the mind is so predominant and so loud and so repetitious. It's not like you think, oh, I hate myself once.
Yeah,
It's
over and over.
yeah, it's a funnel. And then the world in a way starts affirming what you believe about yourself. So you start getting that feedback and that affirmation, and then it's just a whole cycle going downhill. And I think a lot of the root of physical pain is really emotional.
Yeah.
And we're not taught that when we can acknowledge something, it dissipates. Like, avoiding pain is just gonna bring more pain. Yeah, it's just, it's so obvious. But the ways in which we all try to escape or to numb or to put band-aids on things. And yeah, I think what you experienced in Bali was something so profound because it was going to that root that you had pretty much no choice in. From the age of 0 to 7 is some of the most pivotal foundational times of our life that we have pretty much no choice in. You're reliant on your parents, and there is in a way of a victimhood to that. But I think getting out of the victimhood of what we've suffered is the recognition of it.
Yeah.
And I think, the work that you've done on yourself is so important because it's helped so many other people and still in the process of helping others.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and one very interesting point also and is that I think that was my destiny to have this diagnosis anyway. And really, if right now we go back to 2015 in the hospital and you give me the choice of changing this diagnosis, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. Because this is who I am now. And it has a deeper purpose. I mean, I found my purpose, and that's one of the most beautiful things that I had the chance to live, you know, like feeling deeply aligned and connected with a purpose that can serve the world. I want to be out serviced now. So it was my destiny, and I embrace it. And then we can come to maybe the last point, which is acceptation. Accepting is healing, because you don't resist, you don't fight anymore. There is one sentence that I really love is, healing is touching with love what you previously touched with fears. And it's true. I touched with fears so many times this topic for years, and it wasn't leaving me, because it's fear. It's really low vibration. But sometimes we need time, of course. Like, healing is not a sprint. It's a marathon, really. It's like, don't hurry. Take your time. So now I'm touching it with love, and this diagnosis allows me today to actually serve people. And what you were mentioning is that next year I will release a book in all France and Belgium, and that's amazing. That's amazing that I could contribute to the health of so many humans. That is because of that I wake up every single day, and that I do what I do, and that I enjoy what I do. So I'm really grateful. And in many ancestral medicine, also in Ayurveda, by the way, it's like sickness is seen as a message. The universe is not conspiring against you. It's not a conspiracy. And we could literally go down that way when something happened, but then it's ego. It's like, why me? What did I do? I'm a good guy. Why? Well, there is a message behind, for sure. There is something to transform, something better. But of course, you have to look for it.
Yeah, and I think what you just said is what wisdom is taking the suffering and actually crafting it in a way that has meaning.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's really what you've done for yourself in your life, and why whenever I see you, you seem so vibrant and so alive, is you're really aligned to your life's purpose and
Yeah.
to part of why we're human, which is to really have this whole human experience and do it in a way where it's bringing integrity to both the body and the mind. And yeah, you are a living example of that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And I'm excited to go to Ibiza with you
Yeah,
and be healthy. And you can teach me how to cook, because my cooking is basically just eating raw vegetables and just raw fruit. Yeah.
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 Okay, we can
I
do
don't
some
cook a lot.
cooking.
Okay.